With all that has happened, even after the post Noel's case, of course, nothing has been totally completed. We're bringing you reactions from the black community and the heart of the black community and how black people feel right now in America, especially a whole lot of things happening in Mississippi and towards the white folks. So let's jump right into the video.
Okay, so I'm going to try to keep this story short. This past weekend, I was in the mountains with one of my white friends from college. We've been friends for over a decade, and he's one of the few friendships, one of the few white friends that I still have because I let all of them go years ago. Anyways, so we're talking about the Nolan Wells case, and he asked me what the sentiments were amongst the black community. And this wasn't an out of the box question, right? We oftentimes inquire about the psychology of each other's cultures, right? So I'm very interested to know what white people are thinking, how they think, why they think what they think, etc., and vice versa. So we're talking about Nolan Wells, and I tell him, this could have been the worst possible time for something like this to happen, right? Not surprised that it happened. Not surprised that it happened in Mississippi of all places, but this could have been the worst possible time for it to happen. And the reason being is because of what's already happening because of the Trump administration. So I tell him that, and I'm saying the overall sentiment, right, about Trump being reelected as president goes for us back 10 years, right, when he had his first freaking term. I said, and then you go into the COVID era where the George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery of it all happened, right? And everyone was stuck at home due to the pandemic. And so for the first time in a long time, white people were unable to escape the harsh reality of what black people deal with, right? And that caused a global protest to happen, right? All of these corporations, all of these institutions, organizations, associations began to make these statements, make these bold claims, invest hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars into DEI. And all of that was great for the time that it was. Even though it was a Band-Aid, even though it was a wound killer, it was great for what it was, right? And then Trump comes back into office, and all of that is being undone by way of Project 2025, the Republican Party, racism, discrimination, etc. So I'm saying to him, this could have been the worst possible time for it to happen because we keep going forward only to go backwards, right? And this takes us even further backwards. And the response, because there is a new generation, our generation, who's now becoming the new adults, we don't have the same approach, concept, or need for equality and freedom. And I use air quotations because it's a bunch of fucking bullshit. We don't have the same desire, right, to be like trying to reason in a non-violent way with all of these things, the way that our ancestors see it, the way that those before us see it. Our simple response is intolerance. Our simple response is they're so pathetic. Our simple response is ignoring them. Our simple response is calling them out on the bullshit and not placating as this like humble yes massa type generation. Like, not to say that that's what that our predecessors did, but I'm just saying, right? Like, we have a very different approach, and our approach is to call the thing a thing, the real shit, to say it out loud. And I'm telling him, like, even when I'm with some of my black friends, or even when I'm with, within my community, I tell him, like, some of my people scoff at the sight of white people, not out of disgust, not out of hatred, not out of racism, because I believe black people cannot be racist, but out of just the pure intolerance. And he was like, that sounds like so much hatred, though. And I said, but no, it's not hatred. It's not hatred. We don't hate white people. It is intolerance. Because as a black person, oftentimes associating ourselves with white people ends up for us becoming a liability. So we can't ensure that we can trust them, right? Because of the back and forth of it all, because of the MAGA of it all. So we rest in the intolerance of it. And then we got into a larger conversation about spaces, specifically in Atlanta, like that are very like segregated, right? Like restaurants, clubs, bars. Like there are very few spaces in Atlanta that are like integrated. Like you're either going to see one of more than the other or completely none of the other in like black or white spaces. So he was like, so what is black people's response to that? Do they want to be segregated? I said, well, they don't want to be segregated in the sense that I have to walk through the back door because a white person's sitting in the restaurant and this is a white only restaurant. No, we want to be segregated in that sense. But black people are in a space where they are about preserving their culture because the culture is under attack. The history is under attack. The notion of what we have done and what our ancestors have done to build this country up is under attack. Black people have no tolerance for that. And so black people are saying, we're going to preserve our culture. We're going to gatekeep our culture. We're going to keep the things that are for us, by us. And we don't want you a part of them. That's where we're at. It's not about hatred. It's not about wanting to impose harm on white people. It's about maintaining and preserving what our predecessors, what our ancestors fought so hard for us to have. We're not interested in sharing. Because when we share, when we try to be copacetic, those of us who are part of us end up no longer being with us. I mean, am I right? Or am I like, that's where we're at.
All right, white folk, if you've ever wondered what Black people feel about you, today's February 25th Black History teaching is titled, What Many Black Americans Feel About White Americans and Why. Okay, let's talk because I'm tired of all these fake conversations. You know, people always want to ask, why do Black people seem distant or cautious or skeptical towards white people? They usually, when you all ask that as white people, you're usually expecting some type of emotional answer. But the response is not emotional, y'all. It's historical. It's based on history. It's sociological. And it's a pattern. See, for first thing, Black people are not a monolith. We're not all the same. Some Blacks are married to white spouses, right? Some of us have white best friends. Some of us work in white dominated spaces every day and thrive. But there is still something that exists underneath of that, y'all, and it's called collective memory. You hear that, white folk? Collective memory. Let's talk about sociology. That's why I just love sociology, the study of people and concepts and things, because the sociology of trust. Trust is built through consistent safety over time. Let me repeat that. Trust is built over consistent safety over time. So, as a parent, your kid knows, oh, my mom is going to feed me every evening at 5 because you've consistently been feeding Jimmy at 5 for the past 3 years. So, you have built up a trust. Your kid knows that based on history of my mother and what she's done for me in the past 3 years, she's consistent with what she's going to do today. Well, that's how it is with Black people and our feelings towards white folk. If a group experiences enslavement, as Black folk did, legal segregation, voter suppression, housing discrimination, medical exploitation over centuries now, over centuries, our actual nervous system, the nervous system of that group, we adapt. So that's not opinion. That's called trauma science. Okay. Communities develop protective instincts. It's for the sake of survival, right? And America has a long documented record of racial hierarchy. See, this isn't ancient history. The Civil Rights Act passed in 1964. That's not even one lifetime ago. You understand? So let's talk about data because some of you all are really stuck on data. Studies from Pew Research consistently show a significant racial trust gap in America. Black Americans report lower levels of trust in institutions, law enforcement, and government compared to white Americans. That distrust didn't appear out of nowhere. It follows experiences, and experiences follow policy. So let's talk about economics and pattern recognition. Let's talk about redlining. Redlining wasn't a rumor, it was federal policy. The GI Bill disproportionately excluded Black veterans. Mass incarceration, police disproportionately affected Black communities. When you see patterns repeat across generations over and over and over again, you don't call it coincidence, you call it structure. And structure shapes perception, you all. So, what do many Black people think? We don't necessarily, not all of us, some of us do now, but not all of us think hate. Most of us don't think revenge, but caution. Oh, yeah. Many Black Americans operate what I call earned awareness. And what this is it's understanding that individual kindness does not erase systemic patterns. See, so that's why we can come to work and smile in your face with you white folk. And all along, we know from what our mama, our grandmama, our granddaddy, our great grandparents, and everything, not only what they've told us, but what we've seen and experienced. I can't trust her. White man talk with what? Fourth tongue, right? We can't trust what you say. You can smile in our face. You can do all that you want to do. Take us out for drinks, whatever. But history never lies. So, earned awareness is what we operate in. It's to understand that individual kindness does not erase systemic patterns. You can like the individual white person. I can still like you as a white person and still question white systems. That's nuance. You understand? That's how some interracial couples really make it and survive, because they realize, listen, this white person or this white person may not be racist. However, there are systems put in place that are. That nuance makes people uncomfortable, though. So let me speak plainly to you all, okay? If you're white and you never personally harmed a Black person, right? Consciously, that you know of. This conversation is not accusing you, but if you benefit from structures that are historically unequal and you refuse to examine that, that's where attention lies, y'all. See, some Black people don't automatically extend full trust because historically, automatic trust was dangerous. It'd get you killed, okay? Trust me. History has shown that many a people trusted many a white person and ended up hung, lynched, killed, sold. Here's the balance. Many Black Americans also believe in coalition, in solidarity, and real allyship. But allyship requires some things, you all. If you're an ally to the Black people, to us, you have to first listening without being defensive. That's first and foremost. If you can listen without get defensive, then you have a way to be an ally. Number two, your way to allyship is acknowledging historical harm. Can't act like it didn't happen, y'all. Number three, speaking up when racism shows up. You can't just be silent anymore if you want to be an ally. And number four, understanding that proximity to Blackness and Black culture is not the same as understanding the Black experience. I get sick and tired of some of you white women telling me, but I married a Black man and my children are Black. And just because you sleep with a Black person doesn't make you Black, honey. Even through penal injection, you ain't Black. So I don't want to hear that. Well, I know what it feels like to be Black. I have a Black husband. Girl, please. That right there shows you're not ready to be an ally because you don't want to look deep and honestly in yourself and realize that there is a form of white privilege even in saying that. And that makes me nervous when white mothers talk like that, because that tells me they're not willing to do the work to educate their half Black children. So let me close with this. This is not about guilt. It's about awareness. If you want to understand why some Black Americans are cautious and why we are, and rightfully so, stop asking, why don't they trust us? And you need to start asking, what happened that made this distrust happen? History answers that question clearly. And healing starts with honesty, not defensiveness. So for the most part, white people, if I had to sum it up really quickly, we as Black people, we really don't think about you all at all. When we think of you, the majority of us, it is how to survive and thrive around a race of people who historically never cared about us. How do we survive when the enemy is amongst us? That's how we have to, for our own survival, we have to always keep our head on a swivel. It's just the truth. See, you have the luxury and the complexion for the protection of going to any city. When you travel as Black people, we have to make sure, wait a minute, this is a sundown town? They're going to be burning crosses and lynching Negroes in this town after dark? That's why you all white people are so free and trusting and you leave your doors unlocked, because you have the complexion for the protection. But we have to worry if we leave our door unlocked from great-great-grandmother and them, is somebody going to burn a cross? They're going to come in here and shoot me because I know how to read? Yeah. Our nervous system has been tense like this, and we passed it down to our children in generation to generation. Every day I drop my kids off at school, I say, have a great day, have fun, and keep your head on a swivel. That's what it's like being Black in America. Happy Black History Month.
I haven't made space for white people in public or on the sidewalk for years. Not because I'm rude or not because I don't have manners, but because white people expect us to, due to the history of our positioning as Black people in this country. And if you're white and you're watching this, there's a moment on the sidewalk that most Black people know that you never have to think about. You're walking, someone's coming the other way, and without thinking, you move. Not because you wanted to, not because there wasn't room, but because somewhere deep inside of our muscle memory of us in this country, that is what was required. That reflex has a history. During slavery, Black Americans had no legal claim to public space. The sidewalk, the street, the town square, those were white spaces. Black presence was conditional and punishable. After emancipation, Jim Crow formalized that exclusion. Black pedestrians were expected to step off the curb and make way for white passerbys. Not as a courtesy, not as law, but as submission. And that was the structural architecture of what Jim Crow was. Jim Crow was designed to make Black inferiority legible in every dimension of public life, including in how you moved through it, who walked freely, who got out of the way. The sidewalk was the daily rehearsal for racial hierarchy, repeated so many times it stopped feeling like enforcement and started feeling like nature. Laws change faster than bodies do, than cultures do, than memory does. So when the explicit rules ended, the expectation didn't. It went underground into a social reflex, into unconscious habit. Psychologists call this embodied racial deference, centuries of enforced subordination stored not in history books, but in our posture and our eye contact and how much room you allow yourself to take up. It's just like us being at grocery stores. You can always say that white people have no sense of personal space because white people never had to have sense of personal space. When a Black person holds their line, doesn't break stride, doesn't drift towards the curb, doesn't perform the deference the architecture demands, something else happens. The expectation meets resistance. The invisible becomes very visible. Refusal is one of the oldest forms of resistance in Black American life. Rosa Parks didn't move. The Greensboro students didn't move. Holding ground in public space has always been a declaration that the hierarchy is legitimate. And in 2026, we're still contesting Black dignity everywhere. In legislators, in courtrooms, in voting lines deliberately made longer, and on sidewalks. I'm in Texas right now with my brother and my niece, and we were walking and we saw this group of family and they refused to move, and then I refused to move, and I said, I'm not moving, and they eventually went around me, and it just made me think about how much of this nation's history and trauma of our ancestors we hold inside and how much is expected of us from them. So if you're white and you're listening to this, please mind your personal space. If you're Black and you're listening to this, remind yourself to take up space, because at the end of the day, we're all Americans, and we're all in this country, no matter what our skin is. Stay Black, stay blessed.
I will never, ever, ever begrudge Black folks and folks of color for saying they do not trust white people. And a terribly upsetting example of that is what happened in Nolan Wells. He spent 4th of July weekend with 3 of his friends who he thought were friends, and they are white. He is Black. And Nolan Wells died. We don't know what happened. I'm not going to speculate. That doesn't do anything for anybody. But we as white people have not given people of color, especially Black folks in America, any reasons to trust us as a collective group of people. Full stop. And if you are a white person and you are bothered when Black folks say they don't trust white people, think of this moment. Think of the unfortunately countless other moments in American history where white people have been instigators of violent crimes against Black people. Because whether you like it or not, that is American history. It is. You can't escape it. But we can do something to change it. And that starts with every one of us white people interrogating the white supremacist ideologies that we were raised with and our society was built upon, and it is our job to undo it.
I know that certain white people, men specifically, people that are conservative, people that are able to think differently than whatever the mass media is trying to program you to think, whatever they trying to program y'all to think on social media. I know y'all are sick of liberal white women apologists because on one hand, she says that she's not going to speculate. She doesn't have an opinion yet. But at the same time, they up here calling for justice and they don't even know what the cause of death is. As of the recording of this video, right? Nobody knows exactly what happened. There's an active investigation going on, but we're so focused on racism and trying to make everything a black versus white conversation, right? We're so focused on trying to make everything a liberal talking point. We're so focused on trying to make sure that everybody understands that you, as a white woman, you're not a racist. You're not one of them. We don't understand. We have to use our privilege in order to try to feel some type of emotion or find some kind of justice or interrogate everybody. And I'm telling you, bro, it's these liberal white apologists and the culture is the ones that keep making everything a race issue.
They are constantly lynching black people. I don't trust the white man. I don't trust white women. I don't trust none of these motherfuckers. And for good reason. We have empirical, historical evidence of their actions, of how they are, of what they have done to our people. I do not trust white people at fucking all. I don't give a fuck who has a problem with it. I don't give a fuck. This is not hate. This is caution. This is not hate. I don't hate these stupid motherfuckers. I despise them, but I have no hatred towards these stupid motherfuckers. This is history. This is history. This is documented historical, empirical history. We have documents after documents, evidence after evidence, after data of these people doing vile shit to our people. I do not trust white people at all. I never have and I never fucking will. I don't give a fuck how they feel. I don't give a fuck what they think, especially the stupid racist bigots. I definitely don't give a fuck about them. They can say, "Oh, well, all white people." I don't give a fuck. I don't trust you because you still benefit from a racist system. They're going to look at you and look at me and automatically make me the villain because I'm black. Fuck all of them. I don't give a fuck about none of them. All I give a fuck about is my people. I give a fuck about bringing my community together because we need healing. We need help. We need community. We need unity. We don't need motherfuckers from the outside, talking about, oh, you should forget about race. You created fucking race. Y'all created the shit. You telling you can't forget what's embedded in literally everything. And then y'all are out here killing our people. Police brutality just continues. Lynchings, murders, interracial murders. Y'all come out here, get with our people, get with the black man, get with the black woman, and then murder our people. And you really kind of get off scot-free. You get some years, and then you get out. I do not trust these motherfuckers. And I don't give a fuck who has a problem with it.
From the Noel Wells case to the 10 young people who have been lynched in Mississippi and the medical examiner ruled no foul play has further heightened or rather exposed the racial divide between the white community and the black community. While the systematic display of racism that has been amplified by this current administration is in play, there's a subconscious programming in the back of the black man, an orientation that may not all resonate with all blacks, but majority of the black community are not safe are not safe having white friends or working in the company of white people, because time and time over again trust has been broken, trust has been betrayed, and so it is a case of walking on eggshells where you have bureaucratic systems, political systems, governmental systems that are designed to favor an exclusive few, while the majority are judged by the color of the skin. If you're melanated, there's a tendency that you're a criminal, you are someone of particular concern. And so in this video, the black community is voicing out their fears. And they're simply saying, with all that has happened and all that is still panning out, there is a whole lot of reason not to trust white people. This has nothing to do with one singularity or individuality of goodness here and there. This is talking about the collectiveness of an ethnicity or of a race of people. So I want to know what your thoughts and opinions are. Let the conversation begin in the comment section. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you. You're the reason why we do what we're doing. First time subscriber, please hit the notification button, hit that subscription button so that we bring up updates that you'll be the first to be notified. I can tell you as a black man, it resonates also in my spirit.